Hey guys, it's Lazy, and the Dawns of the Hunt update is almost here. I am super excited about the new Lich Ascendancies and the thing looking really insane, to be honest. The Lich reminds me of the Occultist from PoE 1 with some sort of explosions and curse, so Profane Bloom, anyone? With even more powers, I think we'll see a lot of higher highs with this Ascendancies. A lot of the high-end builds is going to play this, and today I am breaking down all the Lich Ascendancies note. I do think that this Ascendancy is catering toward minions player even more, but obviously I don't play minions, so I will share versions of the Hexblast build that I've been working on. There are some crazy potential that you can do on the Lich Ascendancy that could lead to some really fun and strong builds, so let's get started. The Lich Ascendancy is all about chaos damage, curse, and a lot of interesting mechanics about energy shields, mana, and life. We also have access to many damage multiplier Ascendancy notes like the 30% more damage in Eldritch Empowerment, 25% more damage in Price of Power, access to Unholy Might, which give 30% extra damage as chaos, which is in another multiplier bucket of its own, and then we can scale curse effect. We can have extra curse, we have even 33% chance of explosion in our kits. This Ascendancy is completely packed and will be a powerhouse in the late game. There are many interesting mechanics that can fit well into the build as well, and have great synergies with existing unique items that are already in the game. I feel like GGG is putting a lot of effort into this class, and I'll try my best to break down all the Ascendancy notes with their usage, and then we can discuss Hexblast at the end of this video. Let's go over the right side of the Ascendancy tree first, which is Soulless Form and Eternal Life. These two notes go extremely well together, so Soulless Form give 10% of damage taken bypass energy shields. We have no inherent mana regenerations. We regenerate mana equal to 6% of our maximum life per second. And Eternal Life give your life cannot change while you have energy shields. Now what this means is that as long as you have energy shields, 10% of the damage taken will bypass energy shields and hit your life, but your life cannot be changed, so that is going to give you 10% damage reductions in total. This gets even crazier if you can get your hands on Azeri Disdain, which is going to give you 20 to 25% damage taken bypass energy shields, and you can corrupt it to get up to a maximum of 30% damage taken bypass energy shield, which combined with Soulless Form is going to give you 40% of damage taken bypass energy shields, and as long as you have energy shield, that is 40% damage reductions in total. And with how strong this helmet already is for the Blood Mage and for the Witch class in general, together these combinations can be one of the strongest defensive setup ever in PoE 2, and this is going to be perfect for hardcore player or even softcore player if you hate dying. Eternal Life also have great synergies with another unique items that's already available in the game, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. Next up, we have Price of Power, and this is just very straightforward. Non-channeling spells consume power charges to deal 25% more damage. The way we get power charges that is reliably in Witch Ascendancies right now is probably through Profane Rituals, and it kind of makes sense. It goes with the Chaos theme. However, I think it is not that great in terms of quality of life. You don't really want to do that every once so often, and because you're constantly casting spell, this might not be as good, but if there is another kind of support gem that can make generating power charges easier, then this can be a really strong Ascendancy note. Eldritch Empowerment is another straightforward more damage multiplier, and it is an extremely strong note in my opinion. We have non-channeling spell cost an additional 3% of maximum energy shields, and non-channeling spell also deals 30% more damage, and spending energy shields does not interrupted recharge. Generally, giving 20% damage from an Ascendancy node is considered pretty good and strong, but this Ascendancy giving you 30% more damage for non-channeling spell is extremely good in my opinion. The downside is you cannot cast a channeling spell, which is not going to be a problem. and the spell costs an additional 3% of maximum energy shield is again not going to be a problem in my opinion if this Ascendancy works together with Demon Stitcher. On the Demon Stitcher, it states that sacrifice 5 to 15% of life to gain that much energy shields when you cast a spell, which means that if you can balance between the maximum life and maximum energy shields, you can easily get rid of the downside of Eldritch Empowerment. And because we are using Eternal Life, sacrifice 5 to 15% life, we do that, but our life just cannot change. And essentially, we'll get rid of the Eldritch Empowerment downside for free. As you can see in the trailer given to us from GGG, they are 100% sure of this interaction and they are aware of it because they are using Demon Stitcher and Azure Disdain in the video, which means that this interaction is probably going to stay, and as long as this is going to stay, the Lich Ascendancy can be extremely overpowered. Next up, we have Crystallize Phylactery. This node lets you socket one non-unique jewel and it gets 100% increased effect. There is also a downside that you get more mana cost when you have no energy shields, but that again shouldn't be a problem for an energy shield build. Jewels are super powerful in general in PoE, and doubling their effects could be really strong. Essentially, you can think of this as spending 2 Ascendancy points to get 2 jewel sockets. It is a very solid option when you get to the end game, you are running Adorn, for example, and you want to get extra jewels power. Just a quick side note since I see some discussions come up, the 100% increased effect of socketed jewels should only work locally on the jewel socketed in this particular spot, because otherwise it would be way too broken and this should not exist in the game. Next up, we have Rupture the Soul, and this means that cursed enemy killed by you or allies in your presence have 33% chance to explode, dealing a quarter of their maximum life as chaos damage. This is your typical generic exploding node, and it is a bit weaker than the Profane Bloom from PoE 1, but it is going to be still very good in my opinion. 33% chance should be enough to propagate the chain explosions and kill packs easily in mapping, so this is fine. And in a Hexblast setup, you should have Blasphemy equipped on you, so you should already be cursing enemies and Hexblasting, so you don't really have to do anything extra to get this exploding into your build. So there was a mistake with the press release from GGG. The node that comes after Rupture the Soul is going to be Dominion over Flesh, and this gives you an extra curse and let you curse hexproof enemy, and this is going to be crucial for any curse focused build. Being able to get an extra curse, and you can run this with Whisper of Doom as well to get another curse, given that you have enough spirit to run it, so I'm not sure about this node. At least for a DPS build, but you can definitely look into an Aura bot with this particular setups. And yeah, so you can run things like Despair, you can run things like Temporal Chain and Feeble. Those are all pretty good defensive curse, and because we do a lot of chaos damage, Despair is always going to be good. Your curse can affect hexproof enemies, which means it's going to be a lot more consistent, but I don't know about this one. If you are not doing a curse aura bot build, this is probably not the node that you want to take. Next up, we have Necromantic Conduit, and this one gives you and allies in your presence to have Unholy Might while you're not low on mana, and you lose 5% of your mana per second. And just to take a note here that this is making you lose 5% of mana per second, not maximum mana, so it's current mana, which means you are not going to run out of mana ever, and it will take like 90 seconds to really drain all your mana, which is not going to be a problem here. You just need to take Soulless form and regenerate mana equal to 6% of maximum life per second. So as long as you can find the balance between Soulless form and Necromantic Conduit, you can easily sustain the Unholy Might. And finally, we have Blackened Heart, and this one have 4% increased magnitude of Unholy Might buff that grants you per 100 maximum mana. And again, this look like a mini Archmage, so you stack mana and you increase the magnitude of Unholy Might, and it is 30% to all damage as extra chaos damage as base. And you just need to cycle out mana, and like I mentioned before, you don't lose maximum mana per second, so some way it's going to be a lot easier to sustain the 5% of current mana per second. You just need to keep your mana not on low mana, and that's all you have to do. And finally, let's talk about the Hexblast build concept with the Lich Ascendancies. The Hexblast is going to be our core skill. It deals damage by detonating curse on enemies within a radius. You can get up to 9 explosions per cast, and each explosion does a lot of damage itself. And on the gems here, it says detonating a curse on enemy, so you cannot use multiple curse on enemy and detonating multiple curse at once, so just be aware of that. This make Hexblast is going to be great for AoE, but for single target damage, you need a lot of scaling. Hexblast does pure chaos damage and it scales really well with the gems level. The damage increases significantly at higher level, and it does come with a really hefty mana cost. And this is why the skill is so good for the Lich Ascendancies, because with Eternal Life, we can use Extraction to cast Hexblast for free since our life does not change. And this means we can keep leveling up Hexblast without worrying about the mana cost. And this is a huge advantage comparing to the other build where you had to use Inspiration to keep the cost down. Even better, the Extraction support gems give you 25% extra damage in Chaos, which pair extremely well with our build since we are scaling Chaos damage anyway. This is a huge advantage comparing to other builds where you have to use Inspirations. To keep our gameplay loop very simple, we are going to use Blasphemy support with Despair Aura, and this means we can just run around blasting monster to detonate the curse around us. It is super simple and comfy gameplay loop with just one button play. For the Ascendancy choice, the best option here is definitely going to be Soulless form and Eternal Life. Eternal Life help you cast high level Hexblast for free, and also these two Ascendancy nodes together provide a tons of defense. As I talked about it before, you get 10% DR for free as long as you have Energy Shield up, and you can combine this with Azure Disdain to get up to 40% DR, which is crazy good. Honestly, I feel like this is a bit too much, and I hope this does not get nerfed before the release. Next up, we have Eldritch Empowerment, and we get 30% more damage from this Ascendancy nodes alone, which is crazy good. We will negate the Energy Shield downside due to spending a casting spell with the Demon Stitcher. So each time that you cast, you will basically sacrifice your life, but your life does not change. So you will gain that back as energy shields, and essentially you just overflow your energy shields and completely negate the downside of this Ascendancy nodes. And if you just skip to this part, you can see in the trailer that a GGG playtest on the Lich, they actually use the Demon Stitcher, so they are well aware of these interactions. For the last Ascendancy nodes, we definitely want to get Crystallize Phylactery. But jewels will be very strong in this build, and jewels are just strong in general in PoE 2. We want to focus on crit and poison. Ailment is in a good spot in the game right now, and Hexblast deal pure chaos damage, so adding poison to this is going to be really good to help us scale single target damage. You can get both crit and poison stats on the jewels, making them very essential to help us scale our damage in the endgame. I will talk a bit more about this when I go over the POB. Lastly, the combinations of Azure Disdain and Demon Stitcher is just broken. With Demon Stitcher, you are constantly gaining energy shield for free, and with Azure Disdain, you get a huge flat damage reductions as long as you have energy shield up. And with these combinations of Azure Disdain and Demon Stitcher, you would have no problem sustaining your energy shields. Overall, this Ascendancy is pretty stacked. I'm not sure if GGG does intend it for the Lich to be this strong. It's definitely have a lot of potential here. And let's take a look at the POB, and I'll briefly talk about what we want on the passive skill trees. Alright, so here we are in the POB. This is again a very rough draft. I put some items in here. They are perfect items, so just be aware. I have Azure Disdain, Demon Stitcher, Seed of Cataclysms, Ingenuity. I'm not sure if all these items will stay, but this is just to give me a brief idea on what the damage of this POB is going to do. You have Prison of Belief to increase the level Hexblast. Again, very important. Hexblast scale a lot better with level. For Hexblast, you want Ambush, you want Envenom for the crits and poison. Overall, not a lot of choice here. For Blasphemy, you want Despair, you want to have Temporal Chain, because when we are going for poison, Temporal Chain will help you prolong the duration of the poison, which will ended up giving you more single target damage. For the Eye of Winter, you want Withering Touch, and then you want to throw that out with Unleash for the critical weakness as well. Overall pretty standard for Hexblast. And for the trees itself, we just go around, take all the crit notes, chaos notes, energy shields notes, and curse, some kind of curse here, crits, chaos, and go down here, pick up poisons, the level to chaos skills, and you probably want to pick up a lot of the jewel slots as well. In all of these jewels, you basically want to get a lot of crit chance, and you want to get chance to poison. So your Hexblast will be able to poison enemies. And then in here I did not put Contagion, but you definitely can run Contagion as well to give some sort of troll lift. And because you can do poisons, and Contagion will transfer the poison, so that can help a lot in play as well. I also take Eternal Youth as well, but I'm not sure if we will need it. All in all, I think the Lich is going to be a really good Lich starter Ascendancy, and it has really high potential to go into the end game as well. Looking at it right now, I might convert, but we'll have to see. And I wait for the patch note to decide my Lich starter. To wrap it up, the Lich Ascendancy brings some exciting news option to the Witch class. It is extremely strong, focused much better on chaos damage and curse, which we can play Hexblast. The Lich Ascendancy is just really amazing, man. Like, I think it has really strong powers. It has really strong offensive power. It has really strong defensive power, given that they are not changing anything with the game right now. Anyway, if you guys found this guide helpful, hit the like, subscribe button, and I will be covering the Disciple of Kitaba and the Tactician as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.